everybody. Welcome to Her Valor, Her Voice, where we amplify the stories of women who have broken barriers in service to our nation. And you're looking at three of them. We're your hosts, retired Captain Malaysia Harrell, retired Colonel Norma Eli, and I'm former Major Dr. Imani Price, bringing you the untold journeys of resilience, leadership, and triumph that have shaped our military and our country. Today, we continue to honor those who turn challenge into change and history into legacy. This is Her Valor, Her Voice, because every uniform has a story. Today's conversation is about the Sisterhood of Service, the bonds that remind us we're never alone. Take it away, Norma.
Hello, beautiful young women. It's like the bonds that form in service. Dr. Price, how were ways that sisterhood formed through shared experiences and sacrifice?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that question. I know that one of the ways that it did is I decided that I wanted to be a mother. And becoming a mother in the military, brings on its own challenges. It's funny because I was a full adult. I was 38 years old, having this conversation with with the department head about my husband and I are deciding we want to become parents.
Okay.
Having other women in the department to talk to, definitely other service members, to learn how I was going to navigate that was everything. Because it can be really scary. You're a first-time mom and you're in the military and all the challenges that go along with being both. So having those sisterhoods really gave me the courage, honestly, to become a mom before I actually ETS'd out. So that was one of the things. So yes. What about the rest of you ladies? What did sisterhood do for you guys as you were navigating? I mean, both of you guys are 06. So you were navigating this terrain a long time.
Well, with me, there wasn't a whole lot of sisters around for me to form any type of relationships with. Back in 1982, when I first came in, and throughout the 31 years that I served, female women officers, my rank were far and few. The ones that I did form, they were of the opposite race, and however, we formed that bond together. We worked out together. We supported each other together, and we shared experiences and sacrifices. What about you, Malaysia?
Yeah, so I'm loving this conversation, number one, because it was, having a sisterhood and just camaraderie in general is what kept me going. Because, of course, in the Air Force, some of those places were very, very isolated, right? North Dakota, Korea, Hawaii, you can't just leave the island, And so I was in some very isolated locations. And so we always had some sort of, they had the company grade officer, at that time. And so getting involved with that community and doing events together and for the base and, so you have this level of camaraderie. We did volunteer work together. We did Habitat for Humanity. So just really like doing life together. I think it was part of what we did because we had to embrace, what do they call it? Embrace the suck sometimes. when we had mandatory fun and these kind of things. And when I transferred over to the United States Public Health Service, it was the same way because I still worked, very closely. I was in Department of Defense working very high leadership positions. But what I did find though, however, is when you climb up in rank, and this is not just for military, right? Whether you're an NGO, whether you're government, whether you're corporate, whether you're nonprofit, when you get up there, things change a little bit.
Yes.
So it's just very helpful to have a level of awareness so that you're not taken back by anything when it starts to say, oh my goodness, we were such good friends, and then as you climb, people are looking like, and things just change a little bit.
Mm.
Yes, definitely. And what were a few ways laughter, trust, and love that carried us through service? Hmm.
Laughter, trust, and love. I think for me, trust was big,
Yes.
Yeah.
because I, although my dad was in the military, I can't say I grew up in a military family. He was out of the military by the time I was of any age. So that was learning to be able to go into this organization where there weren't a lot of women and be able to have other people to look to who I felt like I can trust was huge.
Right.
Yeah.
I did half of the time that you guys did. I did 10 years, but the trust that I built with a lot of the women who were in there helped
Mhm.
get me through some tough times. When my
Yes.
son was
Definitely.
born, he was an emergency C-section.
Oh, wow.
And I had, man, shared experiences, the
Hmm.
trust,
Hmm.
in such a vulnerable state of letting
Hmm.
other people asking them for help and them
Yeah.
coming and being there with me was everything. It was
Yes.
everything.
Yeah. And I agree with that because I mean your story is so powerful, Dr. Imani, because sometimes we do feel isolated and we
Mhm.
feel, especially if you're in positions that are, very how do you say this? Discreet, where
Yeah.
you're in mental health or you're the head of ADAP, the alcohol and drug program, or family violence, or the sexual assault response coordinator, or the Department of Defense director, or working for the Surgeon General. Like when you're in different positions, you have to have that level of trust. And
Definitely.
so a lot of my friends who I really trusted, and one of them, she passed away unfortunately in 2022. But we had a core group of women that we were all really hard chargers, right? We were
Mhm.
all doing very well. So we were able to have candid conversations with each other. I mean, again, it was a core group and we're still friends to this day. Like
That's
we
good.
still do life together now, even if we don't talk all the time. Some people are still active duty. Many of us have made 05 and above, and so we're more so family.
Mhm.
They're like real sisters. And so I think that's very, very important to have. And around them, I was really able to be myself behind closed doors, and, the different experiences and traveling the world together, learning about different cultures. So, not just because what I found was in the beginning, you only talked about work, like it was just work.
Right.
And you had to learn how to really balance that. I don't know what balance is, it's your life. But just having that time. So I'll give you one antidote really quickly. In Hawaii, we had a core group of, we were all medics, primarily medics. And every month, and we were all company grade officers, every month we did a dinner, and we would all host it at different houses. We would each host, and it would be a different culture. So I remember when we did Italian, we made like gnocchi, like from scratch. We were like,
Wow.
making dishes from scratch and learning. And so that was just a
Oh,
fiesta, Mexico. It was so much fun doing stuff like that.
That sounds great, and I really missed out on all of that, because in the Army Reserves it was a little different,
Yeah.
because of the relationships. Because just like I had to move around in order to
Mhm.
find my billet, you know, in
Yeah.
order to get promoted. I got promoted, but then I had to go and find my job.
Yeah.
Someone had an opening for me. So the women, officers, they were not that many, far and few. So
Yeah.
so therefore, it's like men. I formed a lot of laughter, trust. and love, and with some of my male
Mhm.
counterparts, in the reserves, allowed me, to work, another job with the FAA. So I was able to, form those relationships, with the FAA, with some of the female air traffic controllers that I work with, and
Mhm.
that helped, to carry me through, my 31 years. So that was very beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did those connections build strength and resilience? And we may have answered that already, but if you guys want to, elaborate more on how did those connections build strength and resilience for you?
They just really, just knowing that you had someone to call when you had a tough day, or you're trying to balance real life issues with your family who are
Hmm.
really far away, and you don't want them to ever have to worry about you, or they don't always tell you everything because they don't want you worried. I mean, as far as your family, when you're military, so a lot of things happen and you don't know about it until a while later, because people don't want to upset you, or to have your career. And so just being able to have those candid conversations, and like I said, doing life together. So when it came to fitness and health, like, we're running for fun together, doing races all over the world. And so that really helped with resilience, because no matter what, we were not going to leave each other behind.
Right.
So
Yeah, I agree with you. It's that ethos.
mhm.
Never leave a fallen soldier.
Right.
And when you've got that level of bonding with another person,
Yes.
it is, you're in it. You're
Yes.
in it. I tell you, when you're going through, and Norma, you've deployed.
Yes.
You know this. When you're going through something like that with another person, like, I had a son who was born, he was an emergency C-section.
Mhm.
Those hard things, life or death possibility, because it wasn't just for us, it wasn't just the life of the child, it was the life of the mother too. I was in jeopardy. And
Yes.
people were there with me all night while this child came into the world.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
they stabilized me and all this stuff. I knew that people were there supporting me. My family were not in town. They had to fly overnight to
Mhm.
get to me.
Oh,
It was
wow.
the folks who were there that I served with, who
Hmm.
were
Yeah.
there, who were the first people to see me and Jamal.
Oh,
Me as a
Wow.
new mom and Jamal come into this world. So
yeah.
it
Wow.
wasn't family, they were family. They were
Yeah.
they gave me the strength. They gave
Mhm.
me Bible verses, all the stuff, because it's really it's humbling when they come in there and say, "Hey, you got to fill these papers out to
Hmm.
say who's going to be saved, you or your child."
Right.
Oh,
So, but they were there in there with me. So it was the relationships. And I hope that people who are still in the military,
hmm.
I hope all of you women who are still in, find your tribe, find your people, make
Yeah.
a difference.
Yes, and that's very important. Yes, and thank you, Dr. Price, for mentioning that. I was deployed for 18 months. So, with me being the battalion commander there in Iraq, I was like, people. I didn't really have anybody to build a lot of like relationships with, because I was the lieutenant colonel. I was a commander. However, it's like, during that time, it's like my command sergeant major, we were very close, reference, because we leaned on each other, because we
Mhm.
really couldn't, have the soldiers, to do a whole lot with. So, we built the strength and resilience, him and I together, ultimately. And, the story is, we left Iraq, and eventually, got married. and he, and he's my battle buddy. Okay. And so, which is fantastic. Um, However, it's like, it was a wonderful, opportunity. It really was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is awesome. And again, as we continue just to talk about this, I think one of the big things is learning about, rebuilding connection after the uniform.
Mhm.
And, I retired last year officially. And I was wondering, for you all, how did you feel? Was there any feeling of isolation when you transitioned out or when you retired?
Well, with me, it was because I felt like I was like forced into retirement because I was put on a permanent profile, and I could not deploy outside of a 50-mile radius of any military hospital. And here I was,
Mm.
a brigade commander in Springfield, Illinois, preparing my brigade to deploy to Iraq, and I could not go with them. I had already prepared them and to go with them, and I couldn't. So I felt like, it's time for me, to, hang this up because as a brigade commander, as a commander, in the army, if I can't deploy with my soldiers with my unit that I have trained, okay,
Mhm.
I'm not doing them any good. So I went ahead and retired early before I wanted to retire because of
Mm.
that permanent profile.
Wow, that's interesting to know too, because a lot of people do have to make those big decisions when they
Mhm.
start to, think about retirement. And what about you, Dr. Imani?
Um, I I did feel a lot of that, and I think that's why I went and started working at military installations.
Yeah.
So after leaving the Army active duty, I transitioned to the Coast Guard Academy and
Mhm.
worked at the Coast Guard Academy, and then transitioned from the Coast Guard Academy. I was in the reserves also. Transitioned from the
Mhm.
Coast Guard Academy and came here to Maryland and ended up working at Andrews Air Force Base.
Oh, wow.
I think
Wow.
that those things helped me to feel
Hmm.
the connection of what it's like when
Yeah.
we are in when we're in the military environment, because I knew
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
Yes.
and I felt something special about it. So
Yeah.
I just stayed connected.
Yeah, and you're still doing it now with working with primarily military spouses, and
Yeah.
most of your population is
Yes.
military. And
Mhm.
so for me, I was medically retired last year, so I really didn't anticipate retiring. So when I went to my ceremony, it was like a funeral for me. Like, honestly, like I
Oh,
felt completely empty inside. I felt dead. I felt like, I don't know. I mean, you have to remember, I was technically in uniform since high school when I did Air Force ROTC, and then went in after 9/11. And so, I have this level of patriotism that is there. And, just wanted to be a person of service. And I think I questioned, how can I still be of service if I'm no longer in the military? And a lot of people think like that. But now, I founded the Malaysia Harrell Foundation, Blissful Life Consulting. So I'm
Mhm.
still able to support and serve even with our sisters, And so once I founded Malaysia Harrell Foundation, I was able to do this, 1 day retreat for women last year that both of you
yeah, that's
participated
how we met
in.
each other.
That's Well, no, me and you met before.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
I
that's
met
how we met.
Norma there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, right. She became our sister. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so had I never, because I was like, I'm not doing, like, because I'm begging for money at this point, right? Like, this is something that everybody donated their time. People were donating money. I did a raffle. I did everything I could do for money. But
Mhm.
had I not been obedient because it was so stressful, we would have never met Colonel retired Norma Eli. So
Yes.
I'm so blessed that we did do it. And
I am
Dr.
too.
Imani was our psychologist there. Of course, I'm, a psychotherapist as well. But now I'm able to say, okay, now that we were women in the military, what do women in the military need? Like, we know what they need. And
Right.
so we are the people. Now we're doing this retreat that both of you women are going to be coming to as guests, not as, you know. And so that's the biggest thing. So we're doing retreats, and the DMV is going to be a massive nothing. You know, we have a couple more slots open, but this is the way to really stay connected and elevate and continue to sow this level of love and support and resiliency into each other, right? While learning more fun experiences like we're going to have, because we're going to do something very unique when we go. And so my thing is, you can still serve whether you're in or out of uniform. Now you just get to be more cute. You get to have your nails done. You get to wear some earrings. So
the size you want, and the kind.
We're still serving.
And that's very important, you know, because, you know, I utilize the VA newsletters that they send out, and that's how I found you both. You know, when Malaysia had her health and wellness day for the women that you were just speaking of, you know, and that's how I was able to meet you. And it's like, it was amazing because it's like I felt like I knew you all along. Okay. And that was my first time ever, you know, meeting you or Dr. Price. But you guys embraced me. You embraced me, and you took me in, and you made me feel, you know, so welcomed and loved. And then you invited me, you know, to become a part of, you know, Her Valor, Her Voice, which I needed that, because it's like, because I'm in transition, you know, and so I needed that. So thank you all.
And we're doing this for each other. It's reciprocated, because look at all them certificates behind you. Like, we all just have this level of, but it's so nice that we could just truly let our hair down and be who we truly are. Women of service, women of faith. And so I'm just so blessed. And I was blessed that the Army actually, or the VA actually called me to say, hey, we're bringing all of our people. So we may need to get this retreat in that thing too. So we'll figure out how to get it to them. And so as we talk about the importance of community spaces that keep the sisterhood alive, what have some of you, well, we've talked a little bit about what we're doing to support veterans, but is there something that you think will help kind of services that women could use that could help bridge the gap between military life and civilian life?
Well, I mentioned the newsletter. You know, you have the veterans VA veteran women's newsletter for women. They have a lot of information that you know is disseminated in that newsletter, and so, you know, keeping track of that, just go ahead and you know, join those newsletter, what do you call them? You know, go ahead and register, and that way, excuse me, you know what's going on, and just, you know, get outside of your normal, you know, daily operations, and you know, if you're able to. I know I'm retired, and I know that Malaysia, I think you're sort of kind of retired, sort of kind of, and Dr. is still working. However, but try and build some time, you know, to end some of those activities. That'll be very beneficial.
Well, Dr. Imani's going to tell you, because I was attending all the above and when I first met her, and, you know, an E-Women Network, because I got with her with E-Women Network, being the director of the DMV. That's how we actually connected, and I didn't know she was a veteran at the time. And so there's a balance there, because you want to do some of it, but it can become truly overwhelming. You know, so Dr. Imani, what are some of the things we can do?
Well, I think that you need to find a thing that is going to move you to where you want to go. There will be a lot of things for you to get involved with. But what is your goal now that you're outside of the military? What is it that you're wanting to do? And find the things or things, I'm saying stay focused, that will help you get there. I don't want you to join 50 things. I want you to join see what that is for, you know, if that works out for you. And then if you need another thing, another think.
Right.
Stay focused.
Okay. I love that.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So, Malaysia, you want to wrap it up and bring us home?
Yes. So here's one of the things that, I just want to really encourage our listeners to reach out, connect with our community, with other communities where you feel like you are home, so that we can build these support systems. And here's the thing, you don't necessarily have to build something new. If you have a group of women that you work with or that you love and you're all transitioning together, just start doing little meetups with each other to support each other, and just be intentional about it and make sure that you keep that up. And so the sisterhood is the heartbeat of resilience. It's the way that we lift each other when the world feels so heavy. So just keep showing up, keep reaching out, and keep believing in the power of connection. And Norma, I think there is a reflective moment that we might want to add to end this out.
Yes, definitely. Think of one sister in arms who's made an impact in your life. Reach out to her today. Remind her she's seen, valued, and never alone.
Ooh, that is powerful, Norma. Powerful. All right. So thank you guys all for watching Her Valor, Her Voice, because every uniform has a story. We will be back with you again very soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.